In this lesson, we'll review a long nonfiction reading passage question. We're on page 902, question 24. And this, in fact, is the last question of this section that deals with this long nonfiction reading passage, and it's simply asking for the main point. So the reason I selected this problem, a couple of points. First of all, with every nonfiction passage, remember 3 of the 4 long passages are nonfiction and 1 is fiction. So the bulk nonfiction, and you can always tell that by italics, and we don't see it's from a novel or short story. So even though this passage is the first person narrative, it is still nonfiction. Why do we distinguish between the two? And the reason here is nonfiction, you will always be able to glean the main point in really the first paragraph. If there are many paragraphs, maybe the first third of the passage is the most. So this is a long passage, has 75 lines, so you really wouldn't want to read beyond like that first long paragraph, which is about 16. Maybe you could skim through the second. You'll always glean the main point, and there's usually one main point. Excuse me. And here, it used to be College Board would ask the main point question first in the series of questions, and not anymore. So you may want to try this. Some students have said it helped them just to determine the main point is, if it's nonfiction, skim through all the questions, and if you see the main point question or the primary purpose, answer that first. Remember, this won't have any line numbers, and this is the last question, but you could do them out of sequence to help gauge the main point. So the passage is back on page 900, and again, for the italics, you also, in determining nonfiction or fiction, want to get some context: who's writing it, what are the events going on. So the passage is in part of an introduction written by a well-known doctor and essayist for his 1996 books about rare neurological disorders. So it's a doctor, and we know it's nonfiction. He's writing about neurological disorders, and then we start the passage. And again, hopefully you've read these, but this is just to give you some extra insight. So the doctor's writing, I'm writing this with my left hand, although I am strongly right-handed. I had surgery on my right shoulder a month ago, and not permitted, not capable of use of the right arm. At this time, I write slowly, awkwardly, but more easily, more naturally with each passing day, adapting, learning all the while, not merely this left-handed writing, but a dozen other left-handed skills as well. So right away, we know he's strongly right-handed. He favors his right side, but he's had surgery. He's not permitted to use that, and now he's adjusting to the other side. I have become very adept or skilled with my toes to compensate for having one arm in a sling. I was quite off balance for a few days when the arm was first immobilized, but now I walk differently. I've discovered new balance. I'm developing different patterns, different habits, a different identity, one might say, at least in this particular sphere. There must be changes going on with some of the programs and circuits in my brain, altering synaptic weights and connectivities and signals, although our method of brain imaging are still too crude to show these. So that was a long paragraph, and if you just focus really intently on that first paragraph, we know he's dominant, primarily right-handed. He's adapting. He's getting used to not using his right arm because it's in a sling. He's doing everything left-handed, even his feet, and he's slowly, with each passing day, getting a little bit more skilled. If you want to read just a little beyond this, you can. So the next paragraph is just a few more lines, though some of my adaptations are deliberate, planned, and some are learned through trial and error. In the first week, I injured almost every finger of my left hand. Most have occurred by themselves unconsciously by reprogramming and adaptations of which I know nothing any more than I know or can know how I normally walk. Next month, if all goes well, I can start to readapt again to a full and natural use of my right arm to reincorporate it back into my body, imaged myself to become a dexterous human being once over again. So that was a little beyond it, and again, it's taking more time because I'm reading this out loud, but again, the main point, he's had surgery, he's adapting, and every day is getting a little bit better. You can kind of predict this, and this main point will really help you answer the inference questions, which always have line numbers. So if we look at the answer choices, you could kind of predict the main point is, even though he's used to using his right arm for everything, he's forced to learn a different way, and he's slowly adapting, and it's getting better each day, and it's expanding his awareness. Let's take a look at the answer choices. So I'm back on page 902A. Explain the most fundamental aspects of brain function. No, we are looking for how he's adapting, and that's part of the human makeup. B, discuss the impact of surgery on the nervous system. No, it's about adapting. You really want to look for somehow adapting or getting acclimated somehow to this different side of his body. C, invite speculation on how physical rehabilitation complements natural healing. Again, that's really not accurate. D, emphasize the current technology to measure brain activity is adequate. Again, way off base. The answer, E, argue that the brain's ability to adapt to changing needs is virtually limitless. To adapt changing needs is limitless. Again, you could kind of predict this before looking at the choices. It's not too difficult of a problem, but you have to gauge the main point before answering the questions. And in a nonfiction passage, it will always be in that first paragraph, or maybe two at the most. Some students just read that really intently and then start answering the questions because all the inference questions have line numbers. All right, hopefully that helps. The answer here is E. See you next time. Thanks for watching.